Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the dream I had last night. I actually recorded this earlier as a little rambunctious about doing so because I found the dream to be kind of powerful, and so I want to go ahead and start this, and hopefully I do a better job this time of praying about it. And I've done a little looking into looking into this to get a little more information about the person in this dream. I feel like I have at least a little better understanding of what, actually I feel like I have a lot better understanding of this dream, even though I don't totally get it by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to start out by telling you what I saw in this dream. And so in this dream I see it's very dark, but it's moist, but in the air. But there's a lot of smoke. You can tell there'd been a fire at some point, or at least it felt like there had been a fire of some sort. And then I see a man, kind of like the view pans towards this man, almost like he's watching a show. And there's a man sitting. There's a car flipped over, and the man is sitting on this car. This man was a very thick man, and he was wearing the clothes he's wearing almost appeared to be like a cloak of hair. And he was sitting around him, and then all around him and all this area, you could feel the powerful presence of God, like the power of God all around this man. He was just, his presence was just, I can't think of a better word to say, infested. And the air around him just absolutely infested with the power of God. He just reeked of power. And he was just sitting, not moving, doing nothing. And then I heard this in a whisper, which at the time I didn't understand the whisper, but now I do after doing a little research. But the whisper said that, let me make sure I get this right. He said, beware the spirit of Elijah. And I understood that the man I was looking at was Elijah. Upon doing a little research, I don't know why Elijah's mantle, I didn't understand why Elijah's mantle was hair, but the thing he wore was hair, almost like it's made from a bear or something. And now I'm not sure, of that, but I did understand and learn, that John the Baptist was considered to be the fulfillment of Elijah coming before the coming of the Lord. When he came before Jesus, and he wore a cloak like that. So it's possible that this was a representation of John, of Elijah, his spirit, and John the Baptist. I'm not sure exactly on this. I just have come to understand a little more about why it seemed like there was fire. And I don't know if you're well aware of this. You should really look into Elijah if you're not really aware of his life and what he done. But he called down fire and destroyed an army multiple times. He called down fire and basically humiliated the prophets of Baal. And so he was a very powerful man of God who spoke with God a lot. He had a real relationship with God, and I think that's why I could feel the presence of God all around him. It was like that. They call it the fear of God, almost like you could feel it around him. But it was just power, and the man just sat there, almost looking sad, but not really. You can't see his face. He just didn't move. He just sat there. And so I woke up and I gave this a lot of thought at the time, and like 3 hours maybe. I don't have an exact time. I thought about it a lot, and eventually I fall back to sleep, and I have a difficult time waking up. But there was a second piece to this. On the second part, I start dreaming again, just before I actually managed to get myself to wake up and get out of bed. And I see these people, like newscasters, and they're sitting around this table, like a square table, as best I can remember all this. And there's a woman talking. She's doing her hand like this as she's talking. She's like taking her hand flat like this and just kind of banging it on the table. And she says, "I believe that this is the brutal defender of the truth that we've all been waiting for." She used the word brutal clearly, and she said, "I believe this is the brutal defender of the truth we've been waiting for." And I understood that she was talking about, that they were actually, talking about about Elijah, or this representation of Elijah, where I had seen. I'm not going to pretend to understand what it means, but it was very powerful. And she seemed to be implying that he was going to defend the truth. And she used the word brutal, like I said, and You think about the fires being called down, armies being destroyed, and other things Elijah has done. Brutal. Sometimes what he did or what happened around him was pretty brutal. So you all, I suggest you guys pray about this. Ask God what He's telling you exactly all this means. And if you don't understand Elijah, like for me, I've always kind of been more of a New Testament guy. I read the Old Testament and kind of doing a little research into it. And I heard a lot of these stories about Elijah, but for some reason I hadn't really put it together. So if you're like me, you haven't really put together an understanding of Elijah, do a little research. You can read. I'm going to go back and read my Bible. Now I've done some research and watching several videos on YouTube to kind of get an understanding of who Elijah really was. And when I was watching, I was like, I knew this story. How on earth am I not putting this together? I don't know. So if you haven't got a good understanding of Elijah and you find this interesting, I would go back and do a little research and read, then go back and look in the Bible and then take that in, because that's the most important way you can get your information. But I found this very interesting. The man was very powerful, and I wonder if it's not a sign from God. And I don't know this yet. I don't know this, okay? But whether it's not a sign from God that there's a very powerful man coming, something to do with Elijah, or the spirit of Elijah. Perhaps even, that biblical verse of Revelation where it talks about the spirit of Elijah in the last days, even though that may have been John the Baptist. In fact, it only been John the Baptist. There may not be more to that. I don't know. Do your own research, study the Word, and figure it out. But I believe there's something to this. I believe there's some type of really powerful thing coming. And I do want to add this. Whenever I heard the word beware, the first thing, beware the spirit of Elijah, I also kept hearing in my head as I was waking up the word, I'm losing it, prepare. Like the word prepare and beware could possibly have been used almost interchangeably. So if you find this interesting, pray about it. And if you're like me, you don't get up, not really up on Elijah, or you haven't really pieced it all together. Do a little study, and I think you may get more out of it. But I think this is a very powerful sign from God that something very powerful is fixing to happen. Really, he's talking about putting, the spirit of Elijah and in us as the children of God, or if it's perhaps it's a leader he's sending. I don't know. Pray about it. All right. Love you guys. Have a good day. Bye.